I was having Yashiba Rico from StreetScores, and we're coming with a Marshon Lattimore and Brian Robinson injury update, along with some other injury updates like Cornelius Lucas, Austin Cyborg, a Pro Bowl special teamer as well. We're going to dive into all of that. Also, we have some Washington Commanders fans saying that the Marshon Lattimore trade was a bad one for the Commanders already. We're going to dive into all of that and more. But before we even move on, you already know that this show is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Y'all already know that. And before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get a notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Shouts out to all of my channel members out there. I'm going to be working on some film sessions I'm going to try to get some done, like at least one done before Thursday because it is a short week. I try to get like 2 done in between every game, but I mean, it's Thursday. We'll see though. I'm going to try my best to at least get 1 done, but be on the lookout for that. Of course, I will be live streaming that game Thursday night. I know it's not Sunday, but we will still be live streaming that game, and you already know how the victory live streams go, to call-in shows. If we beat the Eagles, which I'm fairly confident in, I'm not gonna lie, then we'll have the call-in show immediately afterwards. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. Right, so first of all, Dan Quinn said that today's practice was a mock game in preparation for Thursday's game, and they will ramp up further and further as they go further into the week. As far as practice goes, they'll ramp up to the next level tomorrow. So it was kind of like a walkthrough, but also at the same time like a mock game, kind of like a scrimmage situation, trying to get like in-game scenario stuff going. So we'll see how that goes. So just so you like know the overall tempo and vibe of like what's going on with practice this week going up to Thursday. But most importantly, why most of y'all are probably here is because Dan Quinn did tell us that Marshon Lattimore did not practice today, as in Tuesday. Now, that starts to have people questioning, is there even a chance that Marshon Lattimore does not play Thursday against the Eagles? Or is it more of like a guaranteed thing like we hoped when we first traded for him? I mean, a lot of us thought that there may be even a chance he played against the Steelers. So I would be fairly shocked if he doesn't play against the Eagles, honestly. But I know we definitely, for one thing for sure, we're going to need him to win that game. Because, boy, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Now, you could put Mike Sanders still on Devonta Smith. We can make it work. And Benjamin St. Juste did a great job against A.J. Brown one game, but I wouldn't be confident in that moving forward, especially this season right now. So, I would prefer if we had Marshon Lattimore available for that game. If we don't, and I'm a little worried, but if we do, pretty confident in that game. It's amazing how much one player can swing our odds and our chances of beating an opponent. But either way, as you can look on the screen right now, Marshon Lattimore was walking onto the field with Dan Quinn, and he was like at Dan Quinn's hip for a lot of today's practice from what the media was able to see. And again, not practicing today, but he doesn't look like he has any like noticeable limp or like he's really banged up in any sort of way. It looks like he's chilling to me, but that's just me. I'm really hoping that he can figure out some way to play against the Eagles, man. Don't rush it though, because most importantly, like the priority for this season is a strong playoff push where we like win, not only go to the playoffs, but at least win a game or more. You know what I'm saying? We're shooting for the Super Bowl, especially, and Adam Peters showed you that by the fact that we even traded for Marshon Lattimore. They believe in this season, because otherwise they could have just waited until after the season to trade for Marshon Lattimore and use the picks that we used to get him in the 2025 NFL draft. So they do want to win this year. And again, Adam Peters assured us that he got back all of the Marshon Lattimore's medicals from the Saints, and they felt very comfortable with making this trade. So that lets me know that I still doubt that he misses the Eagles game, but even if he does, he'll probably be back then sooner than what most fans are panicking about. Like, some people are acting like he's just done for the season, don't expect him to play at all, he's not going to be any help to us, we're going to get there soon. But of course, Lattimore was on the sideline while others were stretching. He was just kind of chilling and things like that. And I've seen him stretch. I saw him stretch like sometimes in practice last week and things like that. We'll see. But now on to my next topic. I'm seeing some people saying already that this was a bad trade to make for the Washington Commanders. Adam Peters, first blunder, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, first of all, even if he doesn't play against the Eagles Thursday night, we still have him on a fairly team-friendly contract with no guaranteed money all the way through the 2026 season. We don't have to worry about actually paying him until 2027. And secondly, nobody has confirmed that he will not play against the Eagles just yet. That has not been said by Dan Quinn. He hasn't said he doubts it or anything like that. And even if he does, even if he is not able to play against the Eagles, we still have another game against the Eagles and 2 Dakless Cowboys games. I mean, honestly, when you're looking at the schedule outside of the 2 games we have against the Eagles, our toughest opponent remaining on our schedule are the Atlanta Falcons. And they just lost to the tanking Saints that just traded away their best defensive player in who? Marshon Lattimore. And so I'm not really even worried about the Falcons either. I believe we can beat them. When you're looking at the rest of the schedule, we're better than every team. I mean, excluding the Eagles. I mean, I feel like that's a fair matchup, even though I personally feel like we're slightly better than them. I feel like fully healthy, both of us going against each other, I think we win that game. But even outside of the Eagles, if you look at the remainder of the schedule, if we could just clean up everything else, why would we not make the playoffs? I still feel like we have a great chance of winning the division. Remember, we were 7-2 without Marshon Lattimore and almost beat the now 7-2 Steelers, who many people consider Super Bowl contenders after beating us. So that tells you how people feel about us. Oh, you beat the Commanders in Washington? Oh yeah, you must be a Super Bowl contender. Look at your record and things like that. Remember, that team beat us by 1 single point after all of the mistakes we made after we shot ourselves in the foot, beat ourselves, and the refs hated on us a little bit as well. I mean, I feel like we can hang it up there with any of the good teams in the NFL right now. We lost to the Ravens by 7 points. We lost to the Steelers by 1 point. And the only reason we lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is because they played us week 1 when we weren't ready. If we would have played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week, I would be so confident that we would beat them. They caught us at the best time when we were still fresh, the entire rebuild, and we're ahead of schedule. We should not be as good as we are already, but it was just impossible to ask us to beat a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that just won a playoff game the previous playoffs against the Eagles. Week 1, they're pretty much the same team for the majority of their team, coach and staff and everything like that as they were last year. So they had no continuity issues for the most part going into this season. So, and we had everything new: quarterback, offensive coordinator, head coach, offensive line, 3/5 of it, wide receivers outside of Terry McLaurin. I mean, every way, tight ends, anywhere that like chemistry issues could come up, we had inconsistencies there going from this year to the previous year. That's the only reason the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat us. We honestly should only have 2 losses this year, but that's cool, Tampa Bay. Y'all can have that win. If we see y'all in the playoffs, I'm confident we'll beat y'all. My point is, we're a great team even without Marshon Lattimore. But on top of that, I also don't believe that Marshon Lattimore injury is as bad as a lot of pessimistic fans are panicking about right now. I still feel like he'll play against the Eagles this week, but even if he doesn't, I would be shocked if he isn't available to play against the Eagles the second time we play them, which is December 22nd. I personally would be shocked, honestly. I think, and again, my main point is we were 7-3 without him. Playing against we already went against the toughest half of our schedule. The remaining half is, again, outside of the Eagles, I think we can clean sweep everything else. And I still believe we could at least split with the Eagles. I believe we also have a chance to sweep them, but we'll see. But also, another update, even outside of Marshon Lattimore, Brian Robinson will practice today. Dan Quinn did say that Wednesday will be the higher speed practice, though, like I mentioned earlier, so that will give us a better idea if Brian Robinson is ready. But he did practice today. He returned to practice, seemed like he was good to go, but now we got to see what he does when they ramp up the practice tomorrow to see if he's still good to go, see how he's feeling after Wednesday's practice tomorrow, November 13th. But Brian Robinson practicing is huge news in a positive way for us. I mean, the same way that Marshon Lattimore not practicing may be negative news, but again, we're 7-3 without him. But either way, Brian Robinson practicing is huge news. I mean, as small of the margin of victory was in that Steelers game, maybe Brian Robinson is a big enough difference to where we win that game. Some people would even argue that maybe Brian Robinson being available for the Ravens game may have been like enough of a difference for us to even beat them as well. You just never know. Even our defense couldn't stop them to save their lives, so that one's probably false. But the Steelers, I mean, like literally, we're one less Olamide Zaccheaus muff punt or drop open wide receiver first down catch, away from winning that game. We're just one less tiny mistake away from winning that game. We made so many mistakes that if we just made one or two less, we win that game. It's actually really incredible. And I just feel like having Brian Robinson back is enough to matter that much, to where maybe in a simulated reality, if you could just insert Brian Robinson to that game a couple of days ago, maybe we win that game. And so basically my point is, moving forward, having Brian Robinson available for potentially this Eagles game Thursday night would be huge news for us. Very positive. But also, Dan Quinn said that kicker Austin Cyber, aka Austin Cyborg, like I called him, did not practice today, still dealing with a hip injury, and that is bad news. Do not get me wrong, but Zane Gonzalez, who we signed off the street right before the Steelers game, is a good kicker as well. I mean, he made a 41-yarder and a 48-yarder versus the Steelers, man, as well as all three of his extra points. So we have a good kicker on our hands right here, even as a backup. We went from no kickers, and we had K. York week 1 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't forget that as well. K. York couldn't make any kicks against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Couldn't make a kick to save his life. And then we went from no kickers to 2 kickers all of a sudden, because now even our backup kicker in Zane Gonzalez makes everything we ask him to. So we're good to go there. Even though I still prefer to have Austin Cyborg, hey, Zane Gonzalez, hey, he a real one too. Also, another injury update, Pro Bowl special teamer Nick Bellore also missed practice today, which is also still pretty bad news, but we'll see what happens leading up to Thursday if he'll be available. Right now, our special teams coverage unit is elite right now. I would consider it one of the best in the NFL. Like, we are the Tressway punting, and no matter who's even kicking the kickoffs, we get down there. Between Jeremy Reeves, Percy Butler, my dog Tyler Owens, Nick Bellore, our tight ends as well, like Ben Sinnott has gotten in on the action. We have an elite special teams coverage team. I mean, you prefer to have Nick Bellore than to not have him, but it's not like it's going to make a huge enough difference to where we, I don't believe the Eagles will just gash us in the return game, but we'll see. Who knows? And I also believe maybe Nick Bellore will be healthy enough to play, so it may not matter. Also, JP Finley pointed out that even though it's just a walkthrough today, it is interesting that St. Juice is wearing a t-shirt with his number, but he hypothesized that maybe he prefers that over his jersey. We don't know, but Benjamin St. Juice is in a t-shirt wearing the number 25 rather than wearing a jersey like everybody else. So who knows what's going on there? Maybe that dislocated finger is enough for him not to be able to play against the Eagles, even though he finished the game against the Steelers, so it must not be that bad. His finger was already dislocated before he gave up the game losing touchdown, and I don't want to hear any excuses, because a dislocated finger had nothing to do with him giving up that touchdown as well. So we'll see what's going on with Benjamin St. Juice. I know most fans will say that Benjamin St. Juice is injured and he can't play against the Eagles. A lot of fans would consider that a good thing. I wouldn't. I'm not that down on Benjamin St. Juice, but I see what a lot of people have said. I already know that's going to be a joke in the comment section already. And then before we move on to the second half of this video, y'all already know, man, this show is sponsored and provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry. I know y'all want y'all money fast, because I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. And they have a very fast and easy deposit withdrawal process, man. I'm telling you, it's kind of like, why not at this point? But let's go take a look at some bets that we can get in directly through this website. So as you can see, if we're looking at NFL Coach of the Year right now, Dan Quinn is still technically first in the odds. But now, after the Steelers beat us, their head coach, Mike Tomlin, is now tied with Dan Quinn for the highest odds of winning NFL Coach of the Year. We'll see what happens by the end of the season. But hey, man, this is probably a good bet to get in on, because, again, looking at the rest of the schedule, I feel like we're going to win way more games than we lose. And who knows, man, the Steelers have quite a bit of a tough schedule going. They have to play the Ravens this week. They may fall out of favor a little bit. So this may be a good bet to get on. Even though Dan Quinn is the highest favorite right now, he has the best odds, which means it's the least profit. It's still a pretty good profit, because say you wanted to put $100 down on Dan Quinn winning NFL Coach of the Year, you would end up winning $400 by the end of the year. And I think that's a pretty good bet to make right there. I think he honestly has a pretty good chance, because, again, I think we're going to win easily, firmly, double-digit games. I refuse to believe we can't win at least 3 more games by the end of the season. Again, looking at the rest of this schedule, dog. Again, we play the Eagles, Dakless Cowboys, Tennessee Titans, bye week, Saints, Eagles again, Falcons, Dakless Cowboys. I see at least, to me, 5 more wins there, in my honest opinion. I think Dan Quinn has a great chance to win Coach of the Year. And again, to quadruple your money, I think that's a pretty good bet, but that's just me. Y'all already know, man. Y'all know I'm always scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly. Every advice that I give you, every bet that I give you, please make sure you gamble responsibly. I'm always keeping it thou wow with y'all. And again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. Again, please make sure y'all gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the second half of this video. Dan Quinn spoke to the media before practice. He said some interesting things. First of all, he said his group will be ready to play Thursday night. They will be ready. He said they will be ready to play Wednesday if they had to. So he's very confident. He said we could play tomorrow if it came to it. He also said that there is no conversation about standings and playoffs so far. He said, quote, "I want to enjoy every step of the journey with this group." But also to go back to the whole, he's ready to play Wednesday if we have to. He said, quote, having a Thursday game does favor a group like ours. So he says that he feels like we have an advantage over the Eagles to where we could turn around and end up playing better on a shorter week than our opponent can. Continuing with this quote, really a tough-minded group. If I told them it would be on Wednesday, they'd be down for it, unquote. So basically, he loves the mentality of his team. He feels like he gives them that energy. He feels like they reciprocate that energy back to him. They feel like they are ready no matter the circumstances, even if they had to play tomorrow. Also, just to let you know, wide receiver Jamison Crowder was eligible to have his practice window open 2 weeks ago. He's still currently on injured reserve, and I know Lattimore Zaccheaus scared us with those muff punts. Dan Quinn, I guess for some reason just felt like, you know, loyalty wise to just let him continuing to go back there and return punts for the remainder of that game, even after pretty much costing us the game by giving the Steelers a free touchdown. But right now, what are our other options? Again, Jamison Crowder, as an update, still on the injured reserve, even though he's been eligible to return as far as practice windows go since 2 weeks ago, still hasn't returned. So you know he's like actually for real hurt. But Dan Quinn didn't give any indication today on when the Commanders plan to start that. So maybe it's on the way, but it's not here right now. So we still don't exactly know what we're going to do there. But remember, whenever, if ever, Jamison Crowder comes back healthy, then maybe he'll have the lead over Lattimore Zaccheaus for our starting punt returner. But for now, we have Lattimore Zaccheaus, or, I mean, you never know. Maybe give Luke McCaffrey a shot. He was getting a shot in the preseason. Mike Sanders still has the ability to do so from how athletic he was in college. Remember, he was a receiver before he turned corner just 2 years ago at Michigan. So we have some options there, maybe. So we'll see. And then also, another big-time injury update that a lot of people may not talk about that's really slept on is the fact that Cornelius Lucas is expected to practice today, which is big news. I mean, we prefer to have Andrew Wiley healthy and starting at right tackle, but if he isn't, like he was not against the Steelers, which again, margin of just the small margins may be the difference between Andrew Wiley at right tackle to Trent Scott having to start at right tackle for you against the Steelers is enough to where we lost that game, because Jaden Daniels was under duress a lot of that game. He did not look comfortable in that pocket. He was getting hit a lot. But either way, Cornelius Lucas being back, you know, maybe if Andrew Wiley still can't go, I would prefer Cornelius Lucas starting at right tackle over Trent Scott. Trent Scott is the backup of the backup for a very reason. And the fact that we had to start him at right tackle against arguably the best defensive line in football definitely spelled a recipe for disaster. I mean, we could have pretty much expected what happened against the Steelers offensive line wise to happen, bro. As far as run blocking, pass blocking, all of that, it was quite a struggle. They did a pretty good job, though. Compared to what other offensive lines have done against the Steelers, we need to actually applaud our offensive line. But at the same time, compared to what we're used to seeing our offensive line do to other defensive lines, it was a down game for them. But again, we got to respect the fact that Steelers defensive line is insane, absolutely insane. But again, it's great news that Cornelius Lucas is potentially healthy enough to potentially play, because now if Andrew Wiley cannot play against the Eagles, we will have Cornelius Lucas out there instead of Trent Scott. Thank goodness. Also, as you can see on the screen right now, Jaden Daniels at practice, he looks good to go, man. Working on some footwork things, smiling big and everything like that. And I'm not gonna lie, to me it looked like something was bothering him against the Steelers. Hopefully not the Eagles, but against the Steelers a couple of days ago, looked like something was bothering him, like some type of injury. I was thinking maybe arm, maybe his ribs was still hurting him a little bit. Maybe he's all right. I mean, he's all smiles at practice today right now. I really hope he is, but I don't know, man. Against the Steelers, he looked a little, something was off. I know he was under a lot of pressure. I know he was getting hit a lot, but some of the inaccuracy that he was showing, some of the inaccurate throws that he was making were like, okay, something may be wrong here, because that's not typical of Jaden Daniels. He still made some elite, I mean, only like a handful of other quarterbacks in the entire NFL can make those throws. He had like 2 or 3 of those, but at the same time, he wasn't as consistent with his accuracy as we're typically used to seeing from him. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, you saw on the screen at practice, he's all smiles. He's looking good. He looks comfortable, but we'll see. And then also, before we get up out of here, shouts out to DC Rising, because I completely agree with this tweet. He said it feels really good to know that the most frustrating part of the season was losing by 1 to a 6-2 team who is now 7-2 and falling to 7-3. I'm not used to running for a winning Commanders team. I completely agree. I feel like a lot of people are acting like the sky is falling after that Steelers loss. And remember, we are still, I mean, yeah, granted, we went from 2nd seed in the NFC to 6th. We went from number 1 in the NFC East to number 2. But the sky is not falling, man. We can still definitely make the playoffs. I still am very confident that we will. And I definitely feel like we will even win a playoff game or 2. I don't know. I just had that level of confidence. That's just me, though. But I also feel like even if you're not as bullish as I am about the Commanders, as optimistic as I am, it's not the sky is falling after losing to a really good Steelers team, man. I really hope y'all know that. And again, we fell to 7-3. We didn't win. We lost to turn into 7-3. Since when? So, man, make sure y'all just keep that in mind throughout this week. And remember that going up against the Eagles, man. Let's get that dub. Let's go to 8-3. How about that? But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Please make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. And let me know how you feel about the Marshon Lynch situation. Do you feel like he has a good chance to play against the Eagles or not? How do you feel about the trade? Do you think I'm tripping for thinking other people are tripping for thinking that the trade for Marshon Lattimore was a bad trade? Let me know how you definitely feel about that. Let me know how you feel about all of the other injury updates that I gave you, like Brian Robinson and Cornelius Lucas potentially coming back. That's going to be big news, but let me know if you agree with me on that. Let me know how you feel about Austin Cyborg potentially not being able to play for another week. Let me know how you feel about the entire outlook of this team. Let me know how you feel about everything Dan Quinn said about the mentality of this team, where if we had to play Wednesday, we'd be good to go. Let me know how you feel about all of that, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. And remember that this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And please make sure y'all gamble responsibly, man. Please do that one. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.